Hi, good morning. So, as per your syllabus in carbohydrate metabolism, today I am going to explain about another one important pathway. So, that is none other than glycogenesis. What is glycogenesis? What is glycogen? So, the glycogen is nothing but it is just a storage form of glucose in animals. So, in how the plants, the carbohydrate materials is stored and condensed into starch, the same manner in humans or animals, the glucose material it's converted into the condensed form. That form is called as glycogen. Okay, so mostly it's stored in the liver. I can go for yeah. Mostly it's stored in liver. Around 6 to 8% of glycogen it is available in liver. Around 1 to 2% of glycogen is only available in muscles. But due to the more muscle mass, the quantity of the glycogen in muscle is around 250 grams. That means it's a 3 times higher than the liver, because the liver is one of the major organ, but volume wise, size wise, it's very less. But our skeletal muscles is having a one of the major place for the storage of glycogen. So the glycogen level is more, but the percentage wise, the liver is having 6 to 8% of glycogen, but the quantity wise, the more amount of glycogen is stored only in muscles, around 250 grams. So particularly it's stored in granules of cytosol. In cell, muscle cell, it's going to store inside the cytosol. So what is the function of glycogen? What is the function? Because the glycogen it is act as a maintain the major role to maintain the blood glucose level, particularly in between the meals. So whenever we had the meal, whenever we had the food, that time that energy has been generated, otherwise that energy nutrient is gained from our food source. So when we don't had the food, otherwise during the meal, during fasting condition, otherwise during intermediate fasting stage, our body, we are not taking about sufficient amount of food material. That time our body it must be met the sufficient glucose level, because even we don't take the food, our body needs a glucose material for basal metabolic process. Because example, our brain is, even we are not doing any work, our brain is doing continuously working, otherwise heart also is continuously working. So these are the things that comes under the basal metabolism. So for the basal metabolic process, it's need the energy. That energy has been must be supplied by the glucose. So for fasting condition, that has been met with glycogen. When we doesn't had the food carbohydrate, that time the stored glycogen has been break down, it's going to produce more amount of glucose. That's a concept. So it's going to produce the blood glucose level, it's going to maintain the blood glucose level. That's a first point. The second one is the liver glycogen is stored is going to increase when the well fed stage. That means when we had the sufficient amount of food, more than sufficient amount of food, that time what's happened, that glucose material, when we had the carbohydrate, either polysaccharide, starch, it has been break down into these small molecules glucose. Then this excess amount of glucose, when we have the more amount of food, the glucose molecules has been condensed into glycogen. Okay, so the liver glycogen is stored, it's increased the well fed stage. When we had the more amount of food, it's going to store synthesis, the glucose is going to synthesis into glycogen. So it must be depleted during fasting condition. When we are fasting, when we doesn't have the food, that time that reserved source is going to utilize. So the muscle glycogen is serves as a fuel reserve for ATP supply. I already say that for glucose utilization, it's mostly happen on the skeletal muscles. When we are doing any work, physical work, our muscles need some energy. That energy has been utilized for the exercise purpose. So that energy supply is done by glucose metabolism process. When we are fasting condition, the muscle glycogen is undergone the glycogenolysis, is converted into the glucose. That is undergone the supply of glucose supply to the muscle. It's utilized for energy supply. So that's a chain reaction. So what is glycogenesis? This is a simple picture to represent the glycogenesis process. So I say the glucose is a raw material. So when we had sufficient amount of food, otherwise more than sufficient of food, the glucose material it's going to condense into glycogen. That means it's going to arrange together. The glucose molecule is going to arrange together one by one. It's going to form a condensed form that is called as glycogen. So it's having so many intermediate steps. So what's happened exactly? It's converted into the 6-phosphate, glucose 1-phosphate. Then it's going to form a glycogen primer. Then it's going to attach towards the primer. So it's going to form a glycogens. So entire detailed reaction I can explain in coming slides. So but overall you can understand this. The glucose is a raw material. The glucose is converted into glycogen. It's a condensed form. That's all. Which one is instant fuel? Normally we have studied the fat is a fuel reservoir, but in last slide we have discussed glycogen is a basic fuel for the muscle and the energy utilization purpose. So we have a question, which one is act as a instant fuel? Because the myth is the fat is act as a fuel reservoir of body. Normally we know that, otherwise we have studied in the APH itself. So the fat is going to store it's a energy reservoir. So when we are undergoing the fasting condition, the fat is going to lipolysis is get the energy. That's a myth. That's right. But the fat is not preferred for instead of glycogen chosen for routine and day by day use of energy resource. The glycogen has been utilized for when you are having fasting, particularly in between the meal, intermediate between the meal. So when you have fasting for a long time, that time your cholesterol has been is going undergone the lipolysis process. That lipids has been utilized for your energy resource. But the instant energy is glycogen, because the glycogens are rapidly metabolized. It's going to metabolize fast, then it's going to produce sufficient amount of glucose as soon as earlier. And apart from that, the glycogen can be generate energy even in absence of oxygen. But in lipid mediated productions, it's depend upon the oxygen. So the glycogen is no need for, glycogen is converted into the glucose process. For that process, oxygen is not mandatory. So apart from that, the brain depend upon the continuous glucose supply. So it's mostly supply from glycogen. Our brain is continuously working, even you are taking rest. So that time the brain needs more amount of energy that has been supplied by glucose only. So during fasting conditions, what's happened? The glycogen acts as a instant energy supplier. So it's going to break down into glucose molecule. It's going to supply the utilization of brain function. But in other hand, what the problem in fat? So the fat mobilization is slow. That's a major first problem. So that the myth is correct. The fat is it's act as a energy reservoir, but the mobilization of fat from the fatty tissues, adipose tissue to utilization, it's very slow process. Apart from that, it's need oxygen for the metabolic process. The energy production can't produce the glucose. That is another one problem, because it's the once the lipids is going to undergo the metabolism, means it's produced acetyl CoA. Maybe that acetyl CoA is enter into the TCA cycle. It's because it's an intermediate cycle. It's going to the TCA cycle, then it's produced as oxaloacetate. That the oxaloacetate it's converted into the pyruvate. That pyruvate it's once again it comes to the gluconeogenesis process. So it's a TDS cycle. So the fat is considered as a fixed deposit. So the fat is right. The fat is an energy reservoir, but it's like a fixed deposit. So once it's stored, for breaking the fixed deposit is very tough. But the glycogen is act as a current account or saving account. Whenever you need, you can utilize. Otherwise, whenever you have, you can deposit in the bank. The same manner, When your body needs glucose, that time the glycogen is going to break down, it's converted into the glucose, you can utilize. When it is excess, the glucose is converted into the glycogen, then it's stored in either in liver or muscle. So it's act as a current or saving account. That is the thing. So because of that, our glycogen, it is act as a instant fuel. Okay. So the next question is there. Sir, you said the glycogen, it is a condensed form of glucose. So whether it is a chain or not. For those questions, you get the answer here. Yes, the glycogen, it's like a chain format. You can see this picture. So the glucose is raw material. We know that the glucose is going to, the glucose is going to attach with the glycogen primer. So the primer is nothing but glycogenin. It is act as a primer. So the glucose is converted into the UDP glucose, uridine diphosphate glucose. So that glucose unit is going to attach with the primer. You can see here, this is glycosyl unit. It's going to attach with the glucose. So you can see here, this is a sequence of glucose moiety. It's going to attach with primer. So it's like a chain. Then after that, it's going to make a branching also from the straight chain. It's going to make a branching of glucosyl unit. So it's having a various sub-branched molecule also. So the glycogen is, it's a chain, it's a condensed form of glucose. So it's having a various branches of glucose molecules. So mostly the mature glycogen, you can see there, the final glycogen, mature glycogen, it's having around 60,000 of glycosyl units. So you just imagine how many number of branches will be there in glycogens. Next we can go for exact pathway. So this is the pathway. The starting material is glucose. The starting material is glucose. The final material is glycogen. So the glycogenesis is nothing but it's a synthesis of glycogen from glucose. That's a step. We know that it's a formation of glycogen from glucose molecule. The process is called as glycogenesis. So mostly it takes place on the cytosol. Inside the cell, it's cytosol is there. So that's a place the glycogen is going to happen. It requires some energy, particularly ATP, and its need is some UTP. UTP is it's helpful for the formation of chain, glycogen chain. So you can see here, the glucose is the first molecule. So it's converted into the glucose 6-phosphate, then glucose 1,6-phosphate, then it's converted into the UDP glucose. Then it's going to conjoin together with primer. Then after that, the primer is come here. So this glucose molecule is going to attach with the primer. So it's going to form a straight chain. So the chain elongation is going to happen. After that, the straight chain, from the straight chain is going to split. Then it's going to form a side chain. Branching chain is going to elongate. So it's going to like a sequence of reactions. It's going to continuously sequence. So at the end, it's going to form a glycogen. So the starting material is glucose. It's converted into the final material is glycogen. Normally, this glycogenesis process has been divided into 4 steps. The first one is synthesis of UTP glucose. The second one is primer, because the primer is initiate the glycogenesis process. The second one is exactly the glycogen synthesis happen. The last one is the sub branches of glycogen formations. So these are the 4 steps there. You can see here, the first step, UDP glucose. Up to this level, this comes under the first category, synthesis of UDP glucose. The second one is primer is comes and start the function, because primer is going to initiate the glycogen synthesis. Then sequence arrangement, one by one the glucose molecule is going to attach with the primer. So it's going to a long chain. So it is called as glycogen synthesis process with the help of glycogen synthase enzyme. This one. Okay. The fourth one is branching. From the straight chain is going to make a break into 2 chain. Then it's going to arrange with branches. So it's going to happen in various sequence continuously. So finally it's going to form a glycogen. So in next step we can see one by one what is happening exactly. So the first step, synthesis of UDP glucose, because in glyconeogenesis process the first process one is the glucose is converted into UDP glucose. That's the first step. We have divided the glycogenesis process into 4 steps. The first one is synthesis of UDP glucose. So in this step it's nothing but the glucose is converted into UDP glucose. So you can see there that the enzyme, the first process, the glucose, it's converted into the glucose 6-phosphate. That reaction has been catalyzed in glucose 6-phosphate conversion has been catalyzed by glucokinase enzymes. So otherwise hexokinase enzymes. Hexokinase or glucokinase enzyme, these are the isoenzymes. Hexokinase it's available in muscle, glucokinase is present on liver. So that enzyme is responsible for the conversion of glucose into glucose 6-phosphate. For those reactions, the phosphorylation, exactly the phosphorylation happen on the glucose. So the 1-phosphate group from the ATP is going to donate into glucose. So it's converted into glucose 6-phosphate. So ADP is down regulated into ADP. After that, the glucose 6-phosphate, it's converted into the glucose 1-phosphate. For that reaction has been catalyzed by phosphoglucomutase enzymes. Okay, that reaction has been catalyzed by phosphoglucomutase enzymes. First one, glucose to glucose 6-phosphate, then glucose 6-phosphate to glucose 1-phosphate. So after that, exactly the scene is going to happen. So the glucose 1,6-phosphate, it's converted into the UDP glucose molecule. So that reaction has been catalyzed by UDP glucose pyrophosphorylase enzyme. This enzyme is very, very, very vital for this reaction. First one is glucose converted into glucose 6-phosphate. That thing is happen on glucokinase with help of glucokinase or hexokinase. Then it's converted into the glucose 1,6-phosphate. Then with help of UDP glucose pyrophosphorylase enzyme, it's converted into the UDP glucose. So the first step is over. In second step, primer. So now the UDP glucose is ready. So the next step is initiation of glycogenesis is going to happen. So for those process, it's need a primer. So the small fragment of free existing glycogen, it's act as a primer. It is a small fragment of glycogen, so it is serve as a primer, because once it's a primer is available, easily the glucose molecule is UDP glucose is going to attach with the primer, the chain elongation is going to happen. So the primer is come to the scene. So the glycogen is going to synthesize happen by donating the UDP glucose. So in recently found that the absence of glycogen primer, a specific protein, it's called as glycogenin. Yeah, this glycogenin, it's a protein. Even the lack of fragments, small amount of glycogen, the fragment is not available, means in that case the glycogenin, this protein substance, it's act as a primer. It's act as a primer. So this glycogenin is going to act as a primer. So the UDP glucose, the glucose molecule is going to attach with the glycosyl unit. So one by one, the glucose is come, UDP glucose is come, it's going to attach, the chain elongation is going to happen. So this is second step, the primer and initiation of glycogenesis process. So the enzyme, the glycogen initiator synthase enzyme, that enzyme is important role. The glycogen initiator synthase enzyme is responsible for the formation of glycogen elongation process. Because even though the first molecule, the glycogenin molecule is available, the glucose molecule is going to attach with the primer. For those reaction, it's need the enzyme. The enzyme is glycogen initiator synthase enzyme. So that step, now the primer is ready, the glucose is going to started to attach together. So the primer, the attachment is going to start. The glycogen synthase enzyme is responsible for the formation of 1,4-glycosidic linkage. That means nothing but the glucose molecule is going to link with the primer with that attachment 1 and 4 position. So the chain is going to continuously is going to elongate. The enzyme transfer the glucose from UDP glucose to the non-reducing glycogen molecule. So that's a glycogen molecule. So the UDP glucose is going to donate the glucose group in the non-reducing end. So at the attachment of 1 and 4th, linkage is going to happen. So the chain is going to synthesis. This is exactly the glycogen synthesis process. That process. The fourth one is formation of branches. So in last step, what's happened? The branches, the continuous chain elongation is going to happen. Continuously, the UDP glucose is going to donate the glucosal moiety, is going to attach with the non-reducing end with the primer. So in 1/4 linkage, so the chain is going to continuously is going to elongate. The chain is going to continuously is going to elongate. So that it must be converted into the branches. Then only the glycogen is going to become a condensed form. The glucose is going to condense into glycogen. So for those case, the linear glycogen, the linear chain is not going to useful. So for that process, that enzyme, the glycosyl alpha 4,6 transferase enzyme is going to break the chain. It's going to make a sub branches. So you can see here. So this is denoted as a dotted line. So this is the place exactly the breakage of chain is going to happen. Then the broken chain is going to attach into sub branches. So then after that, once again, the elongation of glycogen synthase, with the help of the glycogen synthase enzyme, the strand will be going to straight. Once again, the transferase enzyme is going to break and is going to make a sub branches. So it's going to like a TDS reactions. So the glycogen synthase is responsible for the make a 1,4 linkage. It's going to make a linear chain. But the transferase enzyme is going to break the linear chain. It's going to attach the sub branches. So finally, it's going to make a condensed form of glycogens. So this is the fourth and last step to make a condensed form of glycogen. So the glycogenesis, the overall reaction you can see here. So the glucose molecule, it's like a primer, either glycogen or fragment of glycogen. So it's going to attach the attachment of glucose with the help of 2 molecules of ATP. So it's going to addition of glycogen molecules. So the chain is going to elongate. So this is overall reactions. So up to here, this is a first step, formation of UDP glucose. The second one is primer initiation. This is second step, primer initiation. Then third one is chain elongation. Then fourth one is branchment. Sub-branchment is going to formation. Yeah, that's all. This is overall concept about the glycogenesis process. So the next one is glycogenolysis, because once you understand the basics concept about the glycogenesis, it's very easy to understand the glycogenolysis. So what is glycogenolysis? It's nothing but, so once the formation of glucose into glycogen means it is called as glycogenesis. The same reaction is going to reverse. The breakdown of glycogen into glucose means it's called as glycogenolysis process. This picture is a easy representation for the glycogenolysis process. So we know that the glycogen is mostly stored in either in liver and muscle. So when we are under the starvation conditions, when our body needs more amount of glucose, that time the stored glycogen is going to deplete. It's going to deplete. It's going to break down of small molecules of glucose. It can be utilized for energy production in both either muscle and various places. So the liver is having enormous amount of glycogen. We know that because it's around 8% of glycogen is stored in liver, but because of muscle mass, more quantity of glycogen is stored in skeletal muscles. When you are in starvation condition, the liver is having more amount of glycogen. The glycogen is going to break down into glucose. The same manner, the skeletal muscles also is having a glycogen. Same thing, the glycogen is going to convert into the glucose molecule for utilization for energy purpose. For both the cases, for the conversion of glycogen into glucose, the important enzyme is responsible enzyme is glycogen phosphorylase enzyme. That enzyme is responsible for breakdown of glycogen into glucose phosphate, glucose molecules. It has been used for energy utilization purpose. You can see here, this is a simple diagrammatical representation. So once you have, our body is having a enormous amount of glucose, means it's converted into the glucose 6-phosphate. From that, it's entered into the glycolysis cycles. That's one pathway. Glycolysis cycle is converted into the pyruvate, lactate, then its TCA cycle is going to continue. Otherwise, the glucose is enter into the HMP pathway. It's going to oxidize. Otherwise, the glucose 6-phosphate it's converted into the glucose 1-phosphate with the help of phosphoglucomutase enzyme for the production of glycogen. So the glucose 6-phosphate is converted into the glucose 1-phosphate, then it's going to form a glucose UDP molecule, then with the primer, then it's going to form a glycogen. It is called as glycogenesis process. So this is one cycle. It's going to formation of a reservoir. So when your body needs glucose, that time the stored glycogen is going to break down. It's going to break down into glucose molecule. That process is called as glycogenolysis. So we can see know that both the step glycogenesis and glycogenolysis, it must be the close resemble pathway. Yeah, you can see here, this is exactly glycogenolysis pathway diagram here. So the glycogen is degradation into glucose in terms of glycogenolysis. So the glycogen is going to break down into glucose. So for those things, it's act as some independent set of enzymes. It may present on the cytosol to carry out the unique pathway, the glycogenolysis pathway. So the glycogen degradation breaking into alpha 1,4 linkage and alpha 1,4,1,6 glycosidic bonds. So we know that during glycogenesis process, these are the 3 and 3rd step and 4th step is very important because the chain elongation is going to happen with 1,4 linkage. Sub branch is going to happen with 1,6 linkage. So the same manner, the breakage, debilitation of the same glycogen is going to happen on the same place. Either it is going to cutting into sub branch means is going to cut the 1,6 bonds. Otherwise, single molecule means is going to break down into 1,4 linkage. The same thing is going to reverse. You can see here this diagrammatical representation. So in glycogenesis is consists of 4 steps. Genolysis process, glycogenolysis, it consists of 3 steps. The first one is action on glycogen phosphorylase enzyme. The second one is debranching enzyme. The third one is glucose 6-phosphate to glucose molecule. You can see here. So we have seen in last glycogenesis process, this is the last step. So it's having a long linear chain and various sub chains are there. So the sub chains are arranged in 1,6 bond. So the linear chains are bond with 1,4 bond, alpha 1,4 bonds. So the glycogenolysis is consist of 3 steps. First one is action on glycogen phosphorylase. Then second one is debranching. The third one is glucose 6-phosphate to glucose conversion. So this is the overall both glycogenesis and glycogenolysis pathway. So you can see here, this is a glycogen. Glucose molecule is continuously going to arrange together. Glucose molecule is converted into the UDP glucose. That glucose is going to attach with uridine diphosphates. So it's going to attach with the primer. So you just imagine this is a primer, glycogen primer, otherwise a glycogenin. So this UDP molecule is going to cleave this, exactly this glucose molecule is going to attach with the non-reducing part. So the continuous attachment of this glucose molecule, the chain is going to elongate. So finally it's going to become a long linear chains. Then it's split into two chains. Then it's going to attach with the various sub branches. Then it's become a condensed glycogen. In glycogenolysis process, the glycogen is going to break down. You can see here this picture. Here you just imagine this is a long chain of glycogen. So it's going to split into single molecule. It's called as a debranching process, because we know that the glycogen is having a various sub branches. So the debranching is going to happen. Then it's split into the single glucose molecule. So this process is called as glycogenolysis process. We already know that the glycogenolysis process is divided into three important steps. The first step is action on glycogen phosphorylase enzymes. So you can see here. So the glycogen, it's having a non-reducing end, alpha 1,4 glycosidic bond will be formed. In genolysis process, the first step is going to cleave the same bond, alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds are it's sequentially cleaved with the help of enzyme glycogen phosphorylase enzyme. So that enzyme is responsible for breakdown of 1,4 linkage, glycosidic linkage bond. So you can see here. So this is a long chain. So the glycogen phosphorylase is going to cleave the exactly the 1,4 alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage. So it's going to split the 1 by 1 glucose molecule until it's available of 4 molecules. Until available of 4 molecules in either side, either any side. So this is the first step, action of glycogen phosphorylase enzyme. What is the role? The glycogen phosphorylase is going to cut down the glucose by to cleave the alpha 1,4 glycosidic bond in the linear chain. So 1 by 1 the glucose molecule is going to cleave until the 4 glucose molecule is going to remain in any of the side. Okay, this is a first step. The glycogen is going to form, it's known as limit dextrin. Okay, so when it comes to the 4 glucosan is going to remain, it's called as limit dextrins. That means it can't further degrade by the phosphorylase enzyme. Once it comes to the limit dextrin stage, the phosphorylase enzyme, glycogen phosphorylase enzyme, can't able to split the further glucose molecules. So the second step is action of debranching. So once the limit dextrin is formed, that means it's remaining of 4 glucose molecule. The branches of glycogens are cleaved by 2 enzymes. So the next one is the branches. You can see here this branches is going to leave. So here the branches is going to cleaved by 2 different enzymes. It's called as debranching enzyme. It's having a bifunctional enzyme. It's called as bifunctional enzyme. So it's acting on through 2 steps, step 1 and step 2. So what the thing is there, the transferase enzymes, okay, debranching enzyme, the transferase enzyme, it's going to remove the fragment of 3 or 4 glucose residues in the branch and transfer them into other chain. So you can see here. So this is a limited dextrins. It's having a sub branch here. So the transferase enzyme is going to transfer the glucose group from the 1,6 bond to another chain, but it's going to leave the 1 glucose molecule. So 1 glucose molecule is going to remain. So the remaining molecule is going to remove, then it is attached into the another chain. In step 2, the amylo alpha 1,6 glucosidase enzymes, because in last step 1 glucose molecule has been remain in the position. So the second step, the alpha 1,6 glucosidase enzyme they're responsible for break the glucose molecule, because that glucose molecule is bound with the chain with alpha 1,6 bond formation linkage. That bond has been cleaved by the same enzyme. It's a second step. So what's the thing is that once it's cleaved, it's going to produce the free glucose molecule. So the remaining molecules, the glycogens, is again available for the action of phosphorylase. Same thing. So we know that the glycogen is having a various sub branches. So the transferase enzyme is going to transfer the glucose group, glycosyl unit, from sub branch to main branch. That means 1,6 bond to the linear part, but it's going to remain one glucose molecule in the same branch. That means 1,6 linkage bond. So that's the first step. In second step, the only one glucose molecule has been attached with the sub branch with 1,6 glycosidic bond. So that glucose molecule has been break down. That means that bond has been cleaved by the same enzyme as a step 2. Now the glucose molecules become free. So the same thing, in the same manner, we know that the glycogen is having various branches is there. So one by one the branches is going to cleave. It's going to produce the free glucose molecule. The third step, now the glucose molecule is released. That means it's not a free glucose. That's a problem here. So the glycogen phosphorylase and debranching enzyme is going to produce the glucose 1-phosphate. The first one is glycogen phosphorylase enzyme is going to act. The second one is transferase enzyme, second step. So at the end of these two steps, it's going to produce the glucose product, but it is not a free glucose. It's a format is called as glucose 1-phosphate. So it's not a free glucose. So in that step exactly, the glucose 1-phosphate is converted into free glucose. That reaction has been catalyzed by phosphoglucomutase enzyme. That enzyme is responsible for conversion of glucose 1-phosphate into glucose 6-phosphate. From the glucose 6-phosphate, it may enter into the glycolysis cycle also, because the glucose 6-phosphate means it's easily in glycolysis step, the glucose 6-phosphate is converted into the fructose 1-phosphate. So once it's enter into the glycolysis, the pathway is going to differ. But in glucose 6-phosphate, it's converted into the glucose in liver with the help of glucose 6-phosphatase enzyme. So it's a irreversible reaction. We know that in gluconeogenesis process, we have seen the same thing. From the conversion of glucose 6-phosphate to glucose, it's a irreversible step in glycolysis. That step has been bypassed by the phosphatase enzyme. That enzyme is going to catalyze the reaction. That means it's going to dephosphoryl the glucose 6-phosphate. So it's become free glucose. So it's now the glucose molecule is available. So it's going to produce, it's going to involve the energy production purpose. So the next one is a regulation of glycogenesis and glycogenolysis. Still now we know that what is glycogenesis and glycogenolysis, all those things we have seen in depth in pathway wise. The next one is, what are the regulators? It's going to control, otherwise it's going to initiate the glycogenesis, otherwise initiate the glycogenolysis. What are the things is going to regulate these two pathways? So because the both the things is different mechanism. Once the excess amount of glucose is there, means it's going to convert the glucose molecule is converted into the storage form, condensed form into glycogen. The storage glycogen, when you are under starvation condition, the stored glycogen is going to break down to produce more amount of glucose for energy production purpose. So it must be coordination is there. The glycogen synthesis and the glycogenolysis process must be coordination is there. So the regulation of glycogen synthesis and the degradation of glycogen, it's going to involve for maintain the blood glucose level. We just imagine when the blood glucose level is high, when the excess amount of glucose is there, means it's converted into glycogen. That means it's going to reduce the blood glucose level. The same manner, when you are having a low amount of blood glucose, hypoglycemic condition, that time the glycogen is going to break down, is going to produce the glucose, so it's going to retain the sufficient blood glucose level. So this two things is very important, because it's two pathway, it's going to control the blood glucose level, otherwise it's going to fluctuate the blood glucose level. Glycogenesis and glycogenolysis. Yeah. Glycogenesis and glycogenolysis are respectively controlled by enzymes, the glycogen synthase and glycogen phosphorylase. Because in last glycogenolysis we have seen these are the two enzymes. Glycogen synthase enzyme, it's responsible for the synthesis of glycogen. Glycogen phosphorylase enzyme, it's responsible for breakdown of glycogen into glucose molecule. So these are the two enzymes act as a vital role to control the two pathways, these two pathways. So regulation of these enzymes, some of the things is directly regulate this enzyme by three mechanisms. One is allosteric regulation, hormonal regulation, and influence of calcium. These are the three things. It's directly is going to control these two enzymes. Which enzyme? Glycogen synthesis and glycogen phosphorylase enzymes. Apart from that, I said so many factors is going to regulator is going to involve the glycogenesis and glycogenolysis. We know that last step also we have seen steroids, glucagon, insulin. These are the things are directly or indirectly is going to control these two pathways. So these two enzymes has been regulated by these three mechanisms: allosteric regulation, hormonal regulation, and influence of calcium. So the first one is allosteric regulation. So you can see here, this is a glycogen. Glycogen is converted into glucose. That process is called as glycogenolysis. So the same thing, glucose is converted into the glycogen, means it is called as glycogenesis process. So for this process, the essential enzyme is glycogen synthase enzyme. For genolysis, glycogen phosphorylase enzyme is responsible. That thing we know that from the previous slides. So what are the things is going to regulate? You can see here, the glucose 6-phosphate. It's involved in the glycogen synthesis process. Apart from that, same manner, the same glucose 6-phosphate, it's going to inhibit the process and the presence of ATP, liver glucose. So when the excess amount of glucose 6-phosphate is there, ATP is there, then glucose is there, means no need for production of glucose, because already existing amount glucose is there, energy also there, and glucose 6-phosphate, that means intermediate product also there. So these are the three things. These are the three things. It's a glucose product, so it's already available. So that time the glycogen breakdown process is no mandatory. So these are the three things is going to inhibit the glycogen phosphorylase enzyme. Because of that mechanism, the glycogen is never break down into glucose molecule. Okay. Then in other side, you can see here, in muscle, presence of excess amount of calcium ions and cyclic AMP. These are the things is going to promote the glycogen phosphorylase process, because when your muscle is going to work out, when your muscle is going to working, that time it's release more amount of calcium ions, then cyclic AMP production also there. That thing is directly is going to promote the glucose production from the glycogen by stimulate the glycogen phosphorylase enzyme. Okay, that's a allosteric regulation of glycogenolysis and glycogenesis. That's the first one. The second one is hormonal regulations. We already discussed that. We already seen hormonal factors. It acts as a regulator for the glycogen synthesis. Glucocorticoids, glucagon, insulin. These are the things is going to regulate the glycogenesis process and the glycogenolysis process. What's happening exactly? We can see here glucagon and epinephrine. That's mean adrenaline. These are the two things. It's going to increase the glucose level. That's an end point. You just imagine the glucagon. It's going to increase the blood glucose level. The adrenaline also is going to increase the glucose level, because whenever you're having a fight and flight condition, adrenaline pumping, your body is going to work out more, your body is going to working fast. That time it's need glucose. For met the glucose demand, it's going to the this mechanism. So the end thing is glucose is going to increase. That's a concept. So now what happened exactly? This glucagon and adrenaline is going to inhibit the glucogenesis process. That means glycogenesis process. And apart from that, it's going to inhibit the gluconeogenesis process also. But these are the two things is directly inhibit the glycogenesis. That means formation of glycogen. By how? Which mechanism? What is exactly going to happen? Means once these are the substance, glucagon or adrenaline is going to bind, means it's going to activate the adenine cyclase in plasma membrane. So it's going to activate the cyclic AMP. That cyclic AMP is going to activate the protein kinase, cyclic AMP dependent protein kinase. So once this protein kinase is activated, it's going to dephosphorylate the ADP to ADP. So this is responsible for conversion of active glycogen synthesis into inactive glycogen synthesis. For simply you can understand, once this receptor is going to, once the substance R is going to bound, means it's going to inactivate the glycogen synthesis. That's a thing. It's going to inactivate the glycogen synthesis by various intermediate steps. Adenine cyclase activation, cyclic AMP production, cyclic AMP mediated protein kinase, cyclic AMP dependent protein kinase is going to activate. So it's going to inactivate the glycogen synthase enzyme. We know that the glycogen synthase enzyme is responsible for glycogenesis process. So that process totally stop. That means more amount of glucose is available. That's a step. That's a second thing, hormonal regulation. In same thing, you can see here the same hormonal regulations. It's going to act on different pathway. The first one is it's going to inhibit the glycogenesis. The second one is it's going to promote the breakdown of glycogen into glucose 6-phosphate. I already say that in last slide itself, the glucagon adrenaline, it's directly is going to, at the end point, the glucagon and adrenaline is going to increase the blood glucose level. So what are the ways is there? What are the different possible ways there? One is it's going to inhibit the glycogenesis process. That means glucose conversion into glycogen. That step has been blocked, means the glucose is available as a free. The second step is it's going to promote the breakdown of glycogen. So the glycogen is going to break down, means what's happened? It's going to produce more amount of glucose. That is second step. So this picture is going to represent that step. So the same thing in last slide, the same cyclic AMP dependent protein kinase is going to activate, means it's going to inactivate the glycogen synthase enzyme. But here the same thing. So once is the protein kinase, cyclic AMP dependent protein kinase is activate, means it's going to activate the phosphorylase kinase. That enzyme is responsible for the activation of glycogen phosphorylase. We know that the glycogen phosphorylase is responsible for breakdown of glycogen. So now the glycogen is going to break down, so it's going to release more amount of glucose. So at the end, glucose level is increased. So the third one is influence of calcium. So the effect of calcium ions also is involved the glycogenolysis process, because when the muscle is going to contract, when we are doing any physical work, continuous workout, so the calcium is going to released from the sacroplasmic reticulum. The calcium ions is going to released from the sacroplasmic reticulum. So that calcium ion is going to bind with camellodin pathway. That is called as calcium camellodin pathway. So it's going to modulate the protein. It's going to modulating the protein that is going to activate the phosphorylase kinase. So what is the thing? If it is phosphorylase kinase is activate, means what's happened? The same thing. Last step we have seen, phosphorylase kinase is going to activate, means the glycogen is going to break down. So overall effect, the glycogen metabolism, that elevated glucagon or epinephrine level is increase the glycogen degradation, whereas elevated insulin is going to increase the glycogen synthesis. The overall calcium ions level and hormonal glucocorticoids level or glucagon or epinephrine level. So these are the things is going to increase the either glycogenolysis process, otherwise is going to decrease the glycogenesis process, and it's going to increase the glucose level. The same manner, if it is insulin is available, means it's going to increase the glycogen synthesis. That means it's going to decrease the glucose level. So it's convert the glucose into other product. That means other product maybe it's enter into lipogenesis pathway, otherwise glycogenesis pathway. The glucose is converted into either glycogen, otherwise lipids. So that's a overall regulations involved for the glycogenesis and glycogenolysis. So that's all. So here itself I can wind up the session. In next class we have seen some other concepts. Thank you.